Since 2019, it's the first time wheels touched down in Asheville for the Blue Ridge Honor Flight. Family and community members all gathered at the Asheville Regional Airport to welcome these heroes back home after a trip to Washington, D.C. News 13's Samir Nefsi was there for the homecoming.
Veterans from World War II to the Korean War and Vietnam War all taking part in this special trip to visit their memorials in Washington, D.C. The real magic, however, not taking place until they return back here to Asheville, where crowds gathered to welcome them and say thank you, something many of these veterans didn't receive when they returned from their respective wars.
It's so emotional. I've did this flight, this is my third experience, and it's very emotional for everybody involved. You won't see a dry eye, I'll be surprised.
It's a home welcoming many years in the making after these men put their lives on the line to protect the freedoms of fellow Americans.
It's very important to us because a lot of the veterans, especially the World War II, they're passing away so quickly. And secondly, the Vietnam veterans never got a true welcome home.
Of the 84 veterans who embarked on the journey to Washington, D.C., 74-year-old Max Cochran.
You know, we know that they didn't get the welcome home that they deserved, especially Vietnam veterans. And for them to get that now, it's just amazing.
Cochran's family making sure they had a front row position to welcome back the man they call their hero.
He's our dad, and that's what we're most proud of.
An emotional return.
Welcome home.
It's certainly different than it was when we came back in '69. Things are a whole lot different now.
A welcoming just as memorable compared to the first time he met his then 9-month-old daughter after returning home.
And now her children and her grandchildren are welcoming me back home. So it's absolutely marvelous.
Organizers with the Blue Ridge Honor Flight hope to at least have 4 flights a year, with one booked in May and additional one scheduled in October.
1, 2, 3.
A new training facility for first responders opened today in the mountains.
News 13's Andrew James tells us how the $1.2 million facility will impact recruiting first responders in Henderson and Transylvania counties.
This new public safety training facility will not only serve Blue Ridge Community College, but also as a training facility for local first responders. Cutting the ribbon on a new public safety training facility at Blue Ridge Community College.
This is the best educational center and training facility in our area.
A facility for basic law enforcement trainees like Justin Fisher, who plans to work for the Transylvania County Sheriff's Office once he finishes training.
For law enforcement purposes, this is going to give us an ability to stay out of the inclement weather when we're doing physical fitness training.
The facility will house more than just law enforcement training, though, also serving as a fire and EMS training center. At a time with unprecedented staffing challenges hitting many industries, Henderson County Emergency Services Director Jimmy Brissy says many first responders are beginning to retire, so local agencies are looking to attract and train new recruits.
Western North Carolina is growing as a whole, so the demands are increasing on public safety workers, firefighters, EMS workers, law enforcement workers.
Henderson County commissioners contributed $1 million to make this 6,500 square foot facility a reality. Commission Vice Chair Rebecca McCall says that will pay off in recruiting new workers and housing continuing education for first responders in Henderson and Transylvania counties.
It's not just a one-time learning situation, it's ongoing training. And they need a facility where they can really learn everything at one time.
Honing those baseline skills and also partnering with the college to provide continuing education to build our workforce to the next level.
And right now, Blue Ridge Community College offers around 50 courses and programs for first responders.
Tonight we are getting perspective on former White House Chief of Staff and North Carolina Congressman Mark Meadows' voter registration status. The latest development shows Meadows was registered to vote simultaneously in 3 states.
News 13's Samir Nefsi is in the studio after talking with a political expert. And Samir, did Meadows violate any laws?
Yeah, that's a great question. In short, no. It's not a crime to merely be registered in more than one place. Most of the time, this is something that would be resolved by election staff. Now, what makes this a crime is the intent to commit a fraud. Interesting to note, Meadows was removed from North Carolina voter rolls earlier this month after he registered in Virginia last year. But now he was also found to be registered in South Carolina.
This definitely looks bad, and again, particularly coming from him. And the fact that it was 3 states and not 2 states. It's sort of a series of unfortunate facts, but you put them together.
All of you know
That was political expert and Western Carolina University professor Chris Cooper. The latest development comes out of South Carolina, where elections officials say Meadows' Virginia registration is still active. Cooper told News 13 this situation does not look good, coming from a person that pushed unfounded election fraud claims.
It's incredibly ironic. I don't know if it's surprising or not, but it is very ironic. I mean, again, here's somebody, I think as you've said, who is peddling conspiracy theories about voter fraud and has been the face of Donald Trump's voter fraud investigation sometimes. And here he is registering in an address, again, that he never lived in, never rented, never owned in North Carolina. And to me, that is the real crux. That is the piece of this that is impossible to explain away as just kind of an administrative detail.
Now, voters applying for registration in South Carolina are supposed to say if they're registered elsewhere, leaving it up to the states to remove someone from their list after registering in a new state. State officials say the former congressman and his wife registered to vote in South Carolina earlier this year. Now, according to the State Board of Elections here in North Carolina, if there's evidence of an intent to commit a fraud to register in more than one location, that would be a Class 1 felony.